the Greens, because as socialists we know that unless we have the working class we can't make any real change. So to stop the working class from moving to the right, your party should oppose any collaboration with the pro-NATO, strike-breaking Greens, who are rightly despised by the working class. And the climate crisis needs to be addressed, but not on the backs of the working class. And we need to win them back. Thank you.
You all want to say something? No, nobody else wants. Why is that? Nobody else wants to say anything. I can't believe that. Okay, the first question. I'm not sure I heard it all, but I'll do my best. And if you feel I haven't answered it, then I'll come back on it. First of all, yes. There was a mistake made over both the announcement and the launch of the membership portals by the party. I acknowledge that, everybody acknowledges that, and Zara and I were both speaking together last night at the rally in St George's Hall. I acknowledge that, and I was very sorry and I was very annoyed about it, but it happened, it's gone, it's done. We are assembling and now have the information together. We are taking a lot of sign-ups at the present time. We have the registration of the party through from the Electoral Commission, so we're fully registered, fully acknowledged, and a fully legal entity. We also have a parallel company set up to handle the finances of the party. Again, that will be a not-for-profit company which will be there to handle the finances, and all of it will be open and above board. And that is absolutely what I'm determined to do. At the moment, we are emailing out to everyone that signed up initially, or sometimes they signed up out of interest, sometimes to get emails, and also emailing those that have actually signed up and paid for membership. And that is all happening, and that's going well. And we are sending out now regular emails. I'm always slightly concerned about sending out policy proposals and policy plans when the party doesn't actually have a conference which has agreed any policies yet. So what I'm doing, and Zara and the Independent Alliance group of MPs are doing, is working on the principles of social justice and equality, environmental sustainability, international peace, and obviously opposition to the far right. So that gives you quite a broad area of work. And we have sent out an email asking everyone who possibly can to support the big Palestine demonstration tomorrow. And I want to hear proposals, as I'm sure everybody else does, about how we go forward to the launch conference. I don't want the launch conference to be a sort of bun fight over the most arcane details of what's in the rule book of the Constitution and so on. Important, yes, but overall, let's focus on the issues that matter to working class communities: housing, poverty, jobs, job security, pollution, and opportunities for young people. Also, the way in which our NHS is being broken up and privatised, and the way we don't have a proper care service in the country. There's a whole lot of things, and we can use the skills of our members, as I outlined. On the point about Huddersfield, I'm doing lots of events. I don't think I'm doing the Huddersfield one, but I can't quite necessarily remember all the events I'm doing at the moment because there's so many of them. But obviously, where I can't go, I'm sending messages or videos and so on, and doing a lot of them. Massive march against the far right. Yes. I think what we should do is cooperate with all other anti-racist organisations. We don't need to set up rivals. We need to mobilise our members in an anti-racist way. We could lead one, yeah, that sort of thing. If I get the drift of the point you were making. On the third question, the two parts to it really. One was on Zionism and Greens. I have been involved in campaigns for Palestine all of my life, and I absolutely recognise that anti-Semitism is a vile, horrible cancer within our society, and we will have no truck with any form of racism, Islamophobia, anti-Semitism, anti-black racism, whatever it happens to be. We will have no truck with it whatsoever. But it is perfectly right and proper to criticise the state of Israel for the Zionist project of taking over Gaza and the West Bank, the Greater Israel Plan, which is what is behind it. So it's quite important to separate those two issues. And as you all know, because many of you will have seen it, when we have the Palestine marches, every single one of them includes a very large block of Jewish people who are Jewish people in support of Palestine, Jewish people against what the Israeli government is doing. So I will simply not accept the disgusting language that's been used by successive Home Secretaries that somehow or other Palestine marches are deemed to be a march of hate. They're the very, very opposite. They're marches of everybody, every faith and no faith, every community united because they're appalled at the abomination of what's going on. And whilst hopefully the bombing has stopped today, I don't believe that this Trump proposal is actually going to work. I don't see it being able to survive very long. Obviously, if any lives are saved, that's got to be a good thing. But fundamentally, there cannot be peace for the Palestinian people until you get a complete Israeli withdrawal from Gaza and the West Bank and an end to the settlement policy all over the Jordan Valley and the West Bank. And that means stopping all arms sales to Israel and stopping the supply of the components of the F-35 jets. And we in the Independent Alliance group of MPs and some other MPs, some Labour and other parties, meet at least once a week in Parliament to work out a parliamentary strategy over arms sales, over licensing and so on. And it's fallen to me on every single occasion to raise the issue of the use of Royal Air Force bases in Cyprus, which have been used by Israel as part of their logistics supply and bombing campaign. So we keep on with that, and through the Peace and Justice Project we had a tribunal, a Gaza tribunal, which was 2 days with 29 expert witnesses. And you know, doctors see everything in their lives. They see life, they see death, they see hope, they see despair, and they learn how to cope with it and how to deal with it, as do surgeons and consultants and so on. It's not an easy job. I've never seen it where senior doctors, Nick Maynard and Victoria Rose, both came and gave evidence to our tribunal. And they were fighting back tears, were describing having to operate on children without anaesthetic, without antiseptic, without clean water, just trying to save life. And only 5-10 kilometres away, there's all the water, all the antiseptics, all the medicines and all the equipment deliberately denied to Palestinian children. When historians write this period of the 21st century, they're going to find wanting all those politicians that supplied arms to allow the killing of all these Palestinian children. Oh, sorry, I beg your pardon, yes, the one about Greens. Yes, I include in all this the question of environmental sustainability. And when I was leader of the party in 2019 on May Day, I introduced what turned out to be successful, a resolution to the House of Commons calling for declaration of a climate emergency. And that was agreed because Michael Gove couldn't find a way to amend it, to destroy it. He made a very long speech in which it was very clear he didn't like me. He didn't like me because he'd been cornered, because he couldn't stop the thing happening anyway. So you then look at how you deal with the climate and environmental emergency. You look at the effects around the world. It's the poorest people in the poorest communities that breathe the worst air, have the worst water, have the least food, have the shortest life expectancy, and often have access to the worst health services. And at another level, it happens in this country. If you look at life expectancy in Birkenhead compared to, say, 5 miles down the road, if you look at life expectancy central Liverpool, further out, Manchester, so on, you can do it of every city in this country. You can draw a graph of life expectancy, high here in the suburbs, lower in the centre of the city, then higher again at the suburbs, the other side. And that applies in every single city. Why? Lots of reasons. Living conditions, housing, clean air, etc., etc. So the environmental crisis is very real for often the poorest people in the most vulnerable communities. But it's also, when you come up with Green New Deal solutions, people who work in what are polluting industries or drive vehicles that are frankly polluting and should not be, you don't need to make enemies of them. You don't need to be threatening them. So a Green New Deal has to protect and convert industries and jobs at the same time. That requires huge levels of investment. And one of the most interesting things we did with Becky Long Bailey was having green round tables all around the country, which we brought together people working in industry, driving buses, driving taxis, driving trains, working cabs, all kinds of things, on their ideas of improving the environment in their town and their city. And so it is about bringing up community-based solutions to how we deal with it. But if as a world we don't reduce the level both of CO2 and pollution into the atmosphere, then biodiversity decreases, disease levels amongst humans increases, and the danger to all of us of rising sea levels and everything else is absolutely real. And so it also means that you have to confront the issue about resources. $2.4 trillion was spent last year on armaments around the world. Just get that figure, $2.4 trillion. This year it will be somewhere near $3 trillion. That's $3 trillion not spent on health, on housing, on education, on environmental sustainability. You can't change it all in one go. But if we had a global policy that wasn't setting up this country to be a global military power, but instead was setting ourselves up to be a voice for peace, for justice and sustainability around the world, I think we'd get a lot further. And that's why I'm determined to see peace for the Palestinian people, and also determined to see a ceasefire in Ukraine and end the killing of conscripted soldiers by both sides in that war. Russia was wrong, yeah, but let's end the war. Let's find a way forward rather than pouring weapons into every conflict, which can only result in more and more deaths. And that's where I disagree with a lot of the foreign policy that's put forward. And my comrade on my right is now surging forward and obviously desperate to say something. So here's the microphone.
I just thought that if I stopped Jeremy there, we could take all the other people who've got questions before we finish.
Sorry.
Right. So Shukri, there's a gentleman to your right and then one on your far right as well, and this gentleman on the front. Shall we?
Thank you. What I'd like to know is what is going to be done about the gravy train in Parliament to stop the MPs from getting on and staying on. Before, the ex-councillor said that he was pressurised by the party to vote their way and not the way that he really wanted to vote. What procedures will be put in place for local councillors and MPs to listen to us rather than to listen to the party? Thank you.
Hello. Thank you for coming, Jeremy, and PR and Alan. Thank you for putting this event on. Thank you for keep coming to Liverpool, and thank you for being a beacon of light in the murky world of politics. With building your party numbers, I think it's really important that we have a united front, and any internal issues ideally should be played out internally and should be resolved internally. But as we build in numbers, do you feel like you're better prepared for the character assassination and smear campaign that no doubt the mainstream media are going to put you under as your party continues to go? Do you think you're better prepared than you was in the past? And what can we do as your supporters to counteract this to people who are on the fence, who don't know who to vote for? How are we going to counteract the smears and the character assassination that you and Zara will inevitably come in for as your party continues to go?
Thank you.
I run a community development trust in a geographical community in Birkenhead, and we are seeing a huge amount of casual and kind of normalised racism. But when we're sitting and having the conversations with people about it, it's actually about poverty, or it's about housing, it's about real systematic problems, and there's about, I think it's 53% of children who live in our community are living below the poverty line. And when we've had conversations about it, the community are feeling they have at some point in the last 10 years been demonised by every side of politics right across the spectrum. They were the people on benefits that the Tories attacked. They were the mums that Labour didn't have space for, and now they are the racists that the left wing are struggling with. And I suppose my question is around, how do you do it so we're not excusing or justifying racism, but we are taking some of those communities who are feeling very marginalised with us on a journey?
Thank you. And it will be the last one as well, because I pointed to this gentleman in the front. And that will have to be the last one, because we've only got about 12 minutes.
Okay, I'll be as quick as I can. It's not so much a question as what my expectations of our party can be. I hope people may see a way forward with this. The nub of it all for me is we must have a total transformation of our economy. We must, I think, take command, democratic control of the commanding heights of our economy. That means taking back all the privatised services that Thatcher privatised and others privatised. And by doing that, our opponents will say, oh, you can't afford to buy them back. Well, we don't need to. We need an enabling act put through Parliament by our government when we get in that says you get compensation shareholders based on proven need. Let's means test the fat cats. They've had it their way too long. And all that money that we get back from our hard work that we created those industries, all that money that we get back under that Enabling Act, we'll be able to reinvest in green industries, in health, transport, education, housing, you name it. A decent living wage would help as well. Let's tax the wealthy too while I'm about it. Billions of pounds, they've got 156 billionaires in this country. That's obscene. Not to mention the millionaires. Thank you.
So, on the question of local councillors, first of all, Richie's not an ex-councillor. He's still a councillor, he's just not a Labour councillor anymore. So just to on that. I think absolutely our party's representatives need to be listening to the public. But there's a little bit of a line to be drawn here, because I think it's also important that the representatives of the new party listen to the party members and follow the party policies. So the position that we have in the Labour Party now is that the Labour Party conference passed an excellent motion on Gaza, including a complete boycott of arms sales to Israel and so on and so forth, right? And that makes absolutely no difference whatsoever to the policies of Labour MPs and the Labour government. There's a complete disconnect between the members of the party and the affiliated organisations and the public policies of the Labour Party. And that's not something we want in your party. So I would say that our party's representatives need to follow the public policies of the party's policies as decided by the members of the party. That doesn't mean they're not listening to people in their areas and taking on board what that means, but it does mean that they actually are the representatives of the party on the council and in Parliament. And that's what democracy means, I think, and that will be a big difference from what we found for those of us who had that experience in the Labour Party.
Thanks. One of the really serious problems in the structure of the Labour Party, which I no longer have to worry about, is the way in which council Labour groups and the Parliamentary Labour Party are in effect separate from the rest of the rules of the whole party. They're effectively given a laissez-passer to do whatever they like, and so Labour conference can make lots of decisions, and it does. That can influence a programme for the future. It doesn't have any effect whatsoever on the day-to-day of the running of the party, and the government, Labour government or Parliamentary Labour Party, are not bound by those decisions. That to me is fundamentally a democratic wrongness, because it's giving elected representatives a sort of power they don't deserve, way above and beyond both the community that put them there and the party that organised them to be there. And so I want us to be a completely democratic party where we make our decisions on policies based on one member, one vote across the entirety of the membership, and we can use online voting to achieve that. So that will not just mean that every member has a democratic voice. It will mean if, for example, a decision comes up where the government is going to do something dramatic and we've got to decide whether support or oppose it, send that out to all our members and we'd have an answer pretty quickly, a couple of days maybe, something like that. That then becomes a story to the rest of the country. Hang on, yourparty.uk members have already expressed their opinion on this particular aspect of policy. That gives us an advantage and a kudos over everybody else because we're seen to be a movement and a voice across the whole country. And so I hope we can do, but it also means accountability of those in public office, proper reselection processes for every council term, MP's term, and everything else, and also accountability of what they do in office. And you're quite right about I overhear conversations I've been listening to for years of the arrogance of MPs towards constituents, towards their own parties, and so on, and they feel a cut above the rest. You're not. You're elected to represent people. Do it. Represent people. Sometimes you won't agree with all the people you represent, but you've got to find a way through it. The point you're making about United Front, I'm being very quick, I promise you. I really am. I promise. A united front, absolutely essential. Yes, I admit there's been a problem, but also we've got through that problem. We're on the way. Of course, I didn't want that problem. Move on. Let's get it sorted and go on, and that's exactly what we're doing. Am I ready for the media onslaught? Been through it before, mate. Got the T-shirt and ready to do it all again. Okay. But also,
and this time we're with him because last time I don't think everybody knew everything that was going on behind the scenes.
You know what? You're absolutely brilliant. You just read my mind. I was about to say that what we need to do when we're under attack, any of us, you, me, whatever, under attack, then we need to stand by each other. We need to stand by each other and do it quickly, do it loudly and say it. Because it's that sense of isolation that can lead you into quite a difficult place. And so it is about communications with our supporters and our members. And this time, when we're doing all this communication, we're going to make sure we do that so people are fully aware of what's going on and what the attacks are. But look at it another way. Let's be positive about it. I'm not interested in the politics of the gutter or the character assassination or the personality. I'm interested in politics that fundamentally improves the lives of the poorest in our society. That's what we're here for, and that's what we've got to be doing. And the last two questions, the point you make about racism within our society is a very, very important and very, very serious one. Farage, Reform, far right. You ask Farage any question, within a few minutes, somehow or other, the issue that you've raised with Farage will somehow or other be the responsibility of refugees that have come to this country. Somehow or other, he'll weave it in. So it then becomes a sort of hate thing. Refugees are the cause of all our problems. Underfunding, bad housing, whoa, you name it, that's the cause. And that then leads people into some very bad places. All those people that are desperate for better housing, proper jobs, hope for their kids, worried about the mental health of their families, need to have an inclusive voice that speaks for them and with them to it. Otherwise, we end up with society deciding they're going to blame the most vulnerable for their problems. The problems are not caused by refugees living in asylum hotels. They're much more likely to be caused by people coming in and out of Britain on private jets and putting their wealth and their money into tax havens, which we do not benefit from. It's those people that are the cause of inequality and injustice within our society, and that's what we need to be able to loudly say. And yes, of course, we have to be a totally inclusive party, an inclusive campaign. That means respecting each other. I hate the word tolerance. I don't tolerate other people, I respect other people. That surely is the right language. And your question, very good one, thank you, about public ownership. If I may say, I take it slightly a stage further. Take water, for example. I raised the question of Thames Water in Parliament because that's what covers my constituency, but the same argument would apply with every water company over the whole country. The Secretary of State, Steve Reed, said we're going to have a new regulator to once more look at the issues of the way Thames Water, Southern Water, United Utilities, whatever it is, operate all over the country. And I said, well, look, this is nonsense. We've had 35 years of alleged regulation, and last year alone we had 300,000 sewage discharges into rivers in Britain. We have polluted seas, polluted rivers, bad quality water, etc., all over the whole country, and massive profits of all of those water companies and telephone number salaries for chief executives. Bring it back into public ownership. And when you buy the shares back, as we would, we'd set the share price. We'll set the share price, sure we will, based on 1, the pollution you've caused, 2, the excess profits you've made, 3, the excessive executive pay you've caused, and the long-term damage you've done to our environment by your uncaring policies. And beyond that, we won't have a board of governors or directors or whatever it is appointed to run United Utilities or whatever the thing is. No. It's going to be those that work in the industry. It's going to be those that buy the water locally. It's going to be local businesses that need the water. It's going to be local government. So we build up a community of support and interest in running water properly for the benefit of the community, not for shareholders, hedge funds, and people that have made so much money out of it. And that applies to all the others as well.
Thank you, everyone. I'm sorry, we're going to have to rush you out now so that the next event